Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Jensen from Dean's Chat. If you're on the fence as to whether you want to join the American Podiatric Medical Association, jump on in. It's a new APMA. Whether it's advocacy concerns, scope of practice, billing and coding, consider membership at the APMA as your professional insurance. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dean's Chat, where we discuss all things podiatric medicine. My name is Dr. Jeffrey Jensen. I'm the Dean at the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine and the co-host for the Dean's Chat podcast. Once again, I'm with my co-host, Dr. Joanna Richey. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Jeff. How you doing?
Doing great. I'm still kind of recovering from the SAM weekend in Orlando for the Florida Podiatric Medical Association.
Yeah, man. What a great meeting. We sure had a lot of fun, didn't we, Jeff?
Yeah, Joe, we ended up doing like 34 interviews. I counted them on my phone, and I think we got a couple.
We were so tired.
I was exhausted. I tell you, Joe. We have a phenomenal guest today. I would like to introduce Dr. Brittany Lovett to Dean's Chat. Dr. Lovett, welcome.
Hi. Good evening. Good evening to you both. How are you?
We're doing great. Thank you so much for carving out time. We're fairly informal on Dean's Chat. We go with first names. It's all right with you. Let's go Brittany, Joe, and Jeff.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let me give you a little more formal introduction here, Brittany. Just so the audience knows, back when I was the dean at Barry University, you were one of my students, and it's been a pleasure to follow your career. But I didn't quite fully appreciate everything that you had been up to. So here, let me go back and kind of recap some of your career. All the way back in 2008, you enlisted in the Air National Guard. You graduated from Rutgers University with a degree in biology, and you also at that time were selected for a healthcare scholarship. You utilized the scholarship to go to Barry University. You graduated in 2015, and then you entered Officer Developmental School. While, if I'm not mistaken, at the same time, you were doing your residency. When you completed your residency in 2018, you reported to Walter Reed Medical Center. You were the department head of podiatry at the White House Medical Unit. In 2021, as if that's not enough, right? In 2021, you went to LSU and you got a master's degree in healthcare administration. In 2022, you're with the Naval Medical Readiness and Training Command at NAS Jacksonville, where you are now. In 2025, you became the department head of the Naval Manpower Analysis Center at NAS NAS meaning Naval Air Station. And then your goal was to enhance warfighters and optimize readiness. We got a lot to talk about there, Brittany, because I did a bunch of work with the military over the years. So that's kind of fun. And then you've had several awards. You've had a Joint Commission Medal. You've had a Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal. You've had a Humanitarian Service Medal. And from that background, I think we're going to have no shortage of things to talk about. So Brittany, from the very beginning, I'm curious. In 2008, you signed up for the Air National Guard. Would you have ever imagined you were going to have a career in podiatric medicine also?
No. Believe it or not, 2008 came on the scene, and it was my freshman year at Rutgers. And I was in one of those limbo spots where on paper it looked like my parents made a lot, and FAFSA was like, oh no. And I'm like, no, they really don't. So I was like, I don't want these student loans. And my roommate, believe it or not, she was like, hey, maybe you should join the Air National Guard. Now, remind you, I had no idea what the Air National Guard was. I grew up in Jersey knowing that there was the Air Force and we had McGuire Air Force Base, right? So background story, my father retired vet of the Air Force for 20 years. So I went to him and he was like, I know of Air Force Reserve, Air National Guard. So it was new to the both of us. So we went down, spoke to the recruiter, and at the age of 18, 3 things sound appetizing. 1 is a $20,000 sign-in bonus. 2, all years in school will be paid for because you're going to a state school. And 3, you get a $250 check for 1 week in a month. I was like, oh, we can't beat this. This is amazing. Sign me up, right? And my dad was like, is this real? So 2008, April, I want to say April 4th, 2008. That's when I actually signed the paper. January of 2009, I went to boot camp. So I was there with the actual active duty. So they had us all encompassed as one. So Air Force Reserve, Air National Guard, and active duty, we all went through the same basic training. I did, of course, with my luck. It was when Air Force went from having 6 weeks of basic training to 8 weeks of basic training. So I'm there for 8 weeks, graduated there, went to Air Force Technical School. I learned my skill set, which was hotel management as well as cooking. Came back, and 1 week in a month, I started drilling. So while working at Rutgers, or going to Rutgers and working as Air National Guard, I knew I wanted to do medical. I knew I wanted to pursue that. My colonel at the time, Colonel Gaddy, she was actually a psychologist. She had mentioned about, applying to various schools, and that's how I looked up podiatry.
Oh, how interesting. So you got your undergrad, though, even though you were involved in some hotel management and military things, you still got an undergrad in biology. So you were setting the stage.
Yes, I was.
So then you joined us at Barry University. That would have been 2011.
I was so excited to graduate college. I graduated in 3 years.
I love it. That's great. Well, so your time at Barry, I mean, you were a great student. You did extremely well. You went on to residency. Some of your resume, all of a sudden you're reporting to Walter Reed Medical Center, and you're a department head in the White House Medical Unit. I mean, how did that play out?
That was like my very best tour. I did first, well, we were starting for Navy. That would have been my second tour, because the first tour was at Womack, where I did surgical residency at 3 years, the only little blueberry at an Army duty station. So that's when the Navy had the blue fatigues and it looked real cool. So little blueberry. Walter Reed was the second place, but Walter Reed is a mixed hospital. When I mean mixed, it's Air Force, Army, public health. Everybody have a different type of uniform there. So I was like, where am I going to fit in? How am I going to break out? And so one thing I would say about the military, when it comes to trying to break out, you just can't be like, hey, I'm going to be a podiatrist. Well, I'm going to go back. One thing I'll say about the Navy, you can't just be like, I'm going to be a podiatrist. They want to see you showing leadership, mentorship, and everything underneath the sun to make you competitive, right? So I'm like, what opportunities do they have? And so one of my mentors was like, well, the White House is up the street and they don't have a podiatrist. And I'm like, because at first what will happen, right, at Walter Reed, very prestigious hospital, very well known. We have VIP patients, congressmen, whoever, high level profile, will come and actually make an appointment and will actually have to come to the hospital. So I'm like, what happened if I actually go to them? So that's what started to happen. And I did that for two and a half, going on 3 years while I was there at Walter Reed. And so I got a few little treats. I got a little egg. It's the White House egg. I'm not sure if you can see it.
Yep.
And then I have the White House United States little candy thing that they gave us.
Yep.
And then the last was actually, I got one more thing, if you don't mind.
No, this is great. I have to ask her what the significance of the egg is, because I didn't know.
It is. I actually got this. I found that this was amazing. This is actually probably the most phenomenal gift I could get, because a few of the people, like I had a cook from the White House, and he was actually one of my patients. So you just never knew who you were going to meet. It was just a lot of opportunities.
Oh, is that cool? Yeah.
Yeah, right? It's nice. So it was an amazing opportunity. Very humble people, great conversations. I cannot begin to explain, because at the time I was like, man, these people are entrusting me to touch their feet, to do their surgery. It if it was anything that boosts my confidence up, right? Like after residency, because you have to remember, this is like for real now, because residency, you have a little bit of like a wiggle room and you're kind of being coddled a little bit. So to go from residency to 1,000 miles per hour at Walter Reed was just the greatest opportunity ever.
Wow. Joe, your thoughts? This is phenomenal.
Yeah, man, Brittany, there's so many different things that we can unpack from your story. First, there's clearly a ton of grit and resilience, but I'd also love to highlight some of the time management. Specifically, residency is already challenging enough, but then you add that you were also going to officer school at the same time. Did I interpret that correctly?
Actually, officer school was right before residency started. So for average residencies, civilian residencies, they start in July, right? Okay. For military, who select to do the military residency, we start in October. So I went to ODS from August to literally to October, like probably the end of September, and I had orders like October 1st. I was there starting. So ODS at the time, I believe, was also 6 weeks. And so that ODS was 6 weeks of training anybody who was coming in. I had met people who just got selected to be naval lawyers. We had the pastors. So I was like the only podiatrist, of course, because there's only a few of us that get selected in podiatry with the HPSP program scholarship. So dentists were there. So we all graduated ODS, and ODS is Officer Development School. So it teaches us the Navy core values before they put us out on the fleet or in the hospital. And that's what that was. So it pretty much prepares you before I was going to residency. So I'm like, and that's the thing. So in residency, I'm not only the podiatrist in training, I'm also learning how to become a naval leader as well.
Perfect. Okay. So this is really helpful because, again, sometimes it's hard as a civilian to piece out the timeline of everything. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious the similarities or the benefits that you found going through something like a leadership training, which officer developmental training, I would imagine, is very much focused on. You had highlighted mentorship and leadership, that the Navy really wants to give you opportunities to find that. How do you feel that helped you as you went through something like residency?
Great question. You know, for residencies, I know all the first years can relate. It's like, oh my gosh, I get the brunt of, I'm always on call, always get the pager. And when I get the pager, everything that can go wrong, right? So bring that full circle to ODS. It prepares you to learn how to deal with pressure, because pressure busts pipes. And a lot of first years, I'm going to be honest, cannot handle. They instantly hit like burnout, right? And it's like, wait, so ODS actually trains us, because I remember one of the exercise we did, right? Cannot make this up, favorite exercise. They gave us a little submarine. We go down there and we had to learn how to plug the, they was like, hey, we're going to do a drill and we're going to have water fill up. There's 6 of us. And first of all, for all the people who are like claustrophobic, they're panicking already. So the water is going to fill in there. And no matter what, you have to be able to swim, plug, and get it done to be able to come up top. Imagine that. That's really like pressure, but it's testing how can you fix a problem with limited amount of resources? How can you do it in a timely fashion? And how can you do it without getting aggravated, frustrated? Right. And so a lot of those things that I learned through those 6 weeks became advantageous, because how do you deal when you're getting paged 5 times with ED and then you're getting something like, you cannot make this up. And I'm not sure if you guys saw it. My very first publication, my only publication, but very first publication, I was on call first year. And they was like, hey, we have a 12-year-old and you need to get in here quickly. A dog just bit her toe off. And I'm like, what? And he was like, yeah, she has spina bifida. And the parents is freaking out about the dog. I was like, wait, did you say her toe is off? Right. So, and at the same time, during that weekend at Womack, every 6 to some weeks, they'll have the airborne jumpers jumping. So I had 2 jumpers who had collided into each other because their parachutes did not fully go off, right? and they had broken ankles. So I'm like, you can't make this up. Like, but granted, with the 12-year-old, I was able to just get into that situation, call my attending, and he was like, all right, book the surgery. We got to take her instantly. We got to fix this. And it was just being like, oh my goodness, because my heart went out, because it's 12-year-old. Like, how do you tell somebody like, hey, I'm going to have to take the rest of your she's 12. So it was going through that and processing that and being empathetic and learning at the same time, because it is a learning curve when you're learning throughout residency of how to respond to each and every one's situation. Because at the end of the day, we just don't treat the foot, we treat the patient. So, yeah.
That's fabulous. Well, I think we lost Joe. I think she was telling me she had some internet issues, so I'm sure she'll click back in a second. So that's fascinating to me. So did your experience at Barry University prepare you for those experiences? Did it give you enough stress and give you enough, because a lot of it is preparing you for the future, how to study, how to be disciplined, etc.
My 4 years at Barry was great. Best years were externships. This is what I can't speak about any other podiatry school, but I can say this about Barry. In the best, amazing area, because I had Jackson North to go to, Jackson South. We had Northwest. We had Memorial Hospital. We had so many different places that offer us different opportunities to see a vast amount of different cases. And this is why I love podiatry. All my patients always ask me, why podiatry? And I was like, well, while I was at Rutgers, I was shadowing a few doctors. I was like, neurology. I was like, I just couldn't get, I'm like, my attention span. I'm like, that's 8 hours standing all day, every day. No. I was like, OB. I was like, oh, I think I passed out in mid-delivery. I was like, but podiatry, you can do so much and have so many options, and it's so vast. I was like, you could treat peds if that's all you ever wanted to do. We have wound care, which is now on the horizon compared to when I initially got into Barry. We was just starting to get into that field. We have sports medicine. We have regular general podiatry. We have trauma. It is so much in podiatry where I feel like you couldn't go bored, or you can't go bored. So with us having all these hospitals, I think it definitely prepared me. So when I went to residency, I was like, oh, I've seen this. I'm used to this. I did trauma when I was at Jackson North. So it definitely helped and was beneficial.
Joe, I was asking Brittany how her experience at Barry, both, in school and then also rotations, prepared her for some of this experience with the military. But it sounds like, you've been on this train for quite some time, and I'm just completely impressed with everything you've done to date. Joe, any welcome back. We saw you went frozen on us for a second.
Yep. Yep. I think I might be having some connectivity issues. Hopefully that was the last of it.
No problem. I was going to move forward just a little bit into getting a master's degree in healthcare administration. Joe, unless you wanted to touch on something before we go there, I'm just kind of chronologically working my way through this.
No, that's great, because I'm sure common themes will continue to.
Yes. Go ahead, Brittany.
I did want to add something in there, because Joe, I know you and I were talking prior to this. For those who are interested in seeking military and trying to figure out how they can juggle it both with podiatry, the healthcare scholarship is something to definitely take in consideration. I see a lot of it. Now I sit back on the board and I review the applications for those who are applying for it. And I will say this, it pays for all 4 years of medical school. It pays for the boards, it pays for books, and it also pays for living expense, right? The obligation is you do have to give back 6 years. So do 4 years of school, you give back 6. But I do want to let those know that it is very well, you can do it. It's manageable. And I will say that it's a very great opportunity if you want to take the chance to do it.
Thank you, Brittany. Jeff, we were at the Berry reception over the weekend at the SAM, and one of the students, Alejandro, had come up and talked with us, and he was talking about the show, and he had questions about military specifically. And so I pointed him in the direction of Colin Mizuo, who had talked a little bit about his experience serving in the military, as well as Dr. Asim Raja, who also was very active with military service. And it's always wonderful to have, and so this interview was perfectly timed. And thank you for highlighting that, because you had come into it already with a military background, but sometimes we'll have students that have gone through their undergrad and they're considering now enrolling. And one other thing to just clarify, if they do go through that program, when they come out, are they at an officer status, or what does it look like for them then when they come out?
So once they come out, they're officially at an officer status. In between school, we have something called the IRR. So they're pretty much like an active ready reserve. But as soon as they come out, they're officially a naval officer or Air Force. Because, I will say this. I love Dr. Roger. He was actually my director. At Womack, it was two of us. That was Navy. Myself and Dr. Chen, and then the rest were Army, and then we had one Air Force. So I just want to put that to anybody. It doesn't have to be Navy. You can do Air Force officers, offers the scholarship, as well as Army. Different benefits with each one, so definitely do your due diligence and do your research to see which one benefits you and is more advantageous for whatever it is that you're looking for to do in life. But yes.
Wonderful, man. What a small world too, that Dr. Raja was your attending. That's just, it's so funny, Jeff, right? Such a small community of amazing people. So
I wanted to touch just briefly on you're getting your healthcare administration master's degree at LSU. You just keep going for it here. And so you've done the military, you've done your residency, you've been at, at Womack, you've been at the White House. What motivated you to get that master's degree?
So at Walter Reed, I was the podiatrist. I was the legal officer. I did budgeting officer. I did a lot of collateral duties. And what I realized is I was like, I'm doing a lot of healthcare administration. Let me go and learn more about it, what it entails. Because in the military, I will say this, the more that you promote upward is the more administrative duties you do get. There's more you're supervising those under. So you may do like 70-30. You may do 30% patient care and 70% administrative, depending on your location where you're stationed at. So I decided, because it was like near COVID time or post-COVID, I was like, you know what, let me just go do this accelerated program because I never know when I need to use it in the Navy. And so I did LSU, completed, got my master's. And then when I hit Jacksonville, came down as a podiatrist, there was the opportunity to actually switch and go and do Navy manpower analysis. And that is currently where I'm at now. So what that looks like, I travel to different military treatment facilities. And we make sure that they're fully staffed. They got the doctors, the nurses, all the way down to logistics of like what it is that hospital needs to be ready. We ensure that they have whoever needs to be on the ship or the fleet, that's ready. So that's where the mission readiness comes in, right? Because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that if something goes wrong, we're fully prepared and we can pull from the hospital, put them on a ship and still have enough people at the hospital where it can fully function. So that's pretty much my goal on a daily basis, is to help come up with the models and make sure that these places are mission ready.
Did you know APMA provides help with public health initiatives such as fall prevention, opioid abuse prevention, and addressing health disparities?
Did you know the APMA provides over $400,000 in scholarships annually to students pursuing podiatric medicine, helping the next generation of foot and ankle specialists?
If you're serious about this profession, if you want to grow, to lead, to make a lasting impact, join APMA today.
I love this term, enhance warfighter and readiness and optimize readiness. I just think that's awesome. And the only reason I bring it up, Brittany, is even when we were together at Barry, we were doing some DARPA grants looking at multi-drug resistant organisms in the battlefield and helping warfighters avoid infection. So I did a couple others too that involve like developing a field exosplint that they could be self-applied to save themselves instead of compromising their team and things. So I'm fascinated. Tell us more about warfare readiness. I'm curious.
So that pretty much consists of the different platforms that we have in the Navy, because we have different ships, like the DDGs, those are our destroyers, those are, we have the aircraft, and then we have the smaller ships where like our hospital ships, the ones that help triage and before they take them to the bigger ships. So warfighter optimization is pretty much making sure that all these ships are fully aligned and easily accessible. For instance, great example, COVID. We had the Mercy, right? And we had the Comfort. Remember that?
Yeah.
That would be a perfect example of how we keep everything fully staffed. So if anything goes wrong, once again, a natural disaster, they're ready for action. So that is the purpose of what we do. So we do a lot of realigning and make sure that the Navy is maximizing their manpower. That's what it is.
Joe, I think it's interesting because it kind of mirrors some of the discussions we had last weekend when Brittany said that the higher you work up in rank, the more you have administrative duties. Isn't that funny how those kind of things work? So we were talking last week, Brittany, about leadership skills. Being a leader is doing the right thing, and being a manager is doing things right. And as you ascend through different areas of whatever environment you're in, you have different levels of each. So do you find yourself making decisions at a leadership level, or do you find yourself managing, doing things right? How's that playing out for you right now as you've ascended through these ranks?
There is a time that I feel like I do both. It just depends on the situation and where I'm at in the location. I always tell my people, I'm like, the best leader is the one when they know when to lead from the back, because you're always going to have a subject matter expert. So you want to learn from them. If you come in just because you're a leader and be like, oh, I'm a leader, hear me roar, and you know nothing about nothing, they're going to look at you and laugh. But when you come in with humility and say, hey, teach me this so I can be able to lead you, the respect goes a long way. Because you have a lot of people like, I can never do what you do. I can never be a podiatrist. Then when it comes to healthcare administration, it's just not strictly saying, I can run a hospital, because it takes a lot of different people to run that hospital. You got your CFO, you have your CMO, you have all the way down to the comptroller or whoever is controlling the bank accounts in lieu of. So it's a lot of moving pieces that people don't see when it comes to how a hospital is fully functioning. It's just not patient and doctor care, right? You have patient advocacy. It's so many intrinsic parts. And so having the opportunity to learn how and I learned this when I was at Jacksonville, even though I was on the podiatry staff, I became the clinical manager for ophthalmology. So I got to see I knew nothing about eyes, right? But here I am, the clinical manager. I got the opportunity to see how the referrals worked, how to schedule for the ophthalmologist, and just things that I would have never had the opportunity to do had I not been open to it. But I do agree with what you said. The manager is the one about making decisions, and then the leader is actually the one who's leading by doing the right thing. So that's very well said.
There's a variable, varies according to situation. Joe, your thoughts? I mean, what an incredible career at such a young age, right? So much experience.
Yeah, and Brittany.
I lost Joe again. No, she'll come back in. So Brittany, I have a couple other questions. I just love. Tell me what these awards, what you did around some of these awards. The Joint Commission Medal. How did you obtain that?
That's probably one of the third hardest medals to get, or to obtain. And that one was all off of just resilience, hard work, nonstop grind, especially during COVID season. No days off. And it was just showing up every day, not just showing up to say, oh gosh, I have to be here, but still showing up with a smile on my face, still leading. Because even as a podiatrist, I still had my corpsman who was working underneath me. So I'm speaking to them like, hey guys, we have to do this. This is our mission, you know? And like I said, with the Joint Commission Medal, it consisted of a few things, actually. I have it right here. I completely forgot about this. I was also the National Capital Region Product Line Chair for the Podiatrists. So that played a role in there. So in the NCR region at that time, we had multiple podiatrists. So we was always getting on the phone trying to figure out how we can maximize, utilize OR time, clinic time, cut down. So that played a role in there. Also with supporting the White House, as well as during the COVID, of still seeing over 250,000 beneficiaries. So just not the vets themselves, but also their family members.
Gosh, that's great. Joe, we shifted gears and talked about the Joint Commission Medal that Brittany obtained or received during the COVID when it was all hands on deck 24/7. Sorry, Joe, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but you disappeared for a minute.
No worries. This will be like a really fun episode for me to listen to again, because there'll be little pieces that I didn't catch the first time. And Brittany, I'm so sorry about the internet.
No.
These are the wonderful and terrible things about the interweb, right? So to kind of rewind backwards just a little bit, I'm not sure where I cut off, because in true form, I just kept talking and all of a sudden I'm like, no one else is moving. I think I froze. But I'd love to ask you about, you had said something that I think is incredibly wise beyond your years. And that was talking about leading from behind. It's easy for someone to show up in the room with their ego and talk about the things that they know and feel like that means they know a lot more about other things when they don't. Where do you think you started to develop that sensitivity to that idea of, this is when I need to lean into my expertise and allow that to take front and center, versus this is when I'm going to pause and I'm going to listen to these other voices in the room? How did you develop those skills?
Walter Reed, I will say, Walter Reed, you see a bunch of 06s, the full birds walking around. So I applied for all these collateral duties, like being the legal officer. And so what that means that I had 20 pages of just legal issues that I'm looking over that I have to then go brief to the guy, or whoever was in charge. So it'd be the skipper of the hospital. And I knew nothing about legal besides what I watched on How to Get Away with Murder and Scandal, right? So they did send me to legal school, the Navy legal school, to get my legal officer certificate. But that was one of those instances I had to learn from the actual JAG, the Naval JAG, who was on site. And then once I got comfortable, the more I got comfortable with it, was the more cases he was like, here you go. And that's a prime example, because I didn't walk in, I'm like, oh, I know this. It was like, no, teach me so I could be like you. I think that's what I told him. It was, Commander Suggs. I was like, teach me so I could be like you. And that's exactly what he did.
Gosh, that's great. And it's not easy. I mean, just plopping 20 pages of things you have to review, and you're not an expert in any way, shape, or form.
Right. I'm like, I do feet. But I end up loving the legal because it taught me the other half of like the military, the UCMJ, our code of conduct, and just actually watching how some skippers, not some, but how you made a perfect example. Let me go back. You said something about what leaders, they do the right thing, right? So when you have a 06 and he's in charge of not only the hospital, but the command, and they get some 18-year-old who decided to do, drinking and driving. At that time, that 06 have to make the decision of how he's going to discipline, right? And it's like, do I give you 2 months of half money pay to you? Do I give you extra military instruction? How? So it's a lot of different ways, but you can see grace, and then sometimes you could be like, no, I'm going to hold you accountable because you knew what you were doing. And it's so watching these legal proceedings also from the back taught me that when I get to this position, when I have to take over a command, how to lead. Some of you be like, oh, that wasn't a good call. And then some from the side like, oh, I would have never did it that way. So seeing this for 2 to 3 years, the amount of experience and been like, okay, I think I got it.
Joe, she thoroughly answered your question.
I'm so excited to listen to this one after the fact and because honestly, even just that little bit, Jeff, Brittany, you're outstanding. So I don't even know what to say sometimes about the internet, but I got a lot even just out of that little bit of an answer when I popped back in. So
Brittany, I have another question for you. Tell us about the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal. How did you achieve that?
The difference between the Joint Com and the Navy, the Joint Com was because Walter Reed, like I said before, is a joint hospital. So I was doing missions for the Army as well as for the Navy. So that was all combined when I was stationed there. Now the Navy, that's their top tier, close to what it is that you did in the hospital. So at Jacksonville Hospital, once I got there, boots on ground, I was so in love with being a legal officer. And I really took the time to mentor to some of those who have to come in and sign their paper and be like, hey, I don't want to have to see you doing this again. That I actually applied for the suicide prevention coordinator at Jacksonville Hospital. Yes. So what that entail was there's a program for those who have suicide ideations and sometimes suicidal attempts. I would keep a log. I'll make sure they reach out, get a caseworker. So it was a very well-driven machine. And with Jacksonville Naval Hospital is the parent hospital, but we had multiple branches. So we had one in Newport, which is also located in Jacksonville. We had one in Key West. We have one in Albany, Georgia. And I feel like I'm forgetting one more. Oh, then we have the branch clinic. So I was in charge of all 4 of those for briefing the skipper at the time who was in charge of the Naval Hospital. So I did suicide prevention coordination. That was one of my tasks or duties. I was the ophthalmology clinical manager. I part-time did ortho and podiatry clinical manager while also seeing patients. I'm trying to think, was there anything else? I think those was the top 3 that was recognized for during my time served there at the hospital.
Oh, gosh, that's fabulous. Joe, your thoughts. I'm just, this is incredible because I didn't fully understand, Brittany, that you'd been involved in all these various aspects of the military. Joe.
I will say this about the Navy. It makes sure that you're well-rounded. It ensures that you just don't get stuck in, hey, I'm a podiatrist and I'm just going to be a podiatrist. Right. Show me what it is and how you can lead as also serving as a podiatrist. And that's an opportunity that I could say forever after my 20 years, I'll be thankful for, because I don't think I would have had this ambition had it been, and I know, Joe, you asked me this earlier, like, what do you think is the difference between the civilian and the military aspect? Had I been a civilian, because the Navy kind of put fire in me, feel like, hey, you want to make next rank? Then prove to me what it is that you could bring to the table and how you can do it and what fully makes you a leader. And I feel like the only way that you really learn how to become a leader is stepping out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
Like,
so good.
Yeah.
Joe, any other questions you have? Jump right
in.
In.
Man, the stepping out of your comfort zone. And actually, so this is interesting. And I hadn't even thought of it in this kind of a framework, but it does sound like the military has a nice structure. I mean, of course, the military will have good structure, but specifically to this idea of mentorship and leadership, what do you think professions, and we'll speak to the podiatry profession, could do to mimic that or give an opportunity to create something? Because I do believe that every person has the opportunity to tap into that. Mm-hmm. We just may not have a structure. And as you said, like, how do we spread that through the profession?
That is a good question. And I feel like podiatry eats their young. And I know I'm probably going to get some lash for that. But it is the truth. It is the truth. We're very competitive, and it's because we're very passionate, right? And it's a very thin line between it. And that's why I always recommend anybody to have a mentor. Because if you try to navigate podiatry or even the medical field on your own, you're going to hit some roadblocks, right? So by having a mentor, I'm like, hey, I've seen this, I did this. And I always say get 3. I even in the military, I tell them, always have 3 different mentors because that's 3 different perspectives. And then you have the option to choose which one suits you. Because you may have a mentor who's like very aggressive, very type A personality, and that may not be you at all. So do not take that advice. Or you may have somebody who's more of a type B personality and you may be a type A. You don't know how to translate, because I always say this, is not what you say, it's how you say it. Being tactful is something that the Navy's now starting to hone in on. It's like, if back in the day, you see, like, if you're in the military, I'm gonna say whatever I'm gonna say, and if your feelings get hurt, oh well, suck it up, buttercup. That's it. Now it's like, no, this is still a human, even though we have a mission. Have tact, have grace, have respect. And I've been in for 14 years. So it's definitely starting to pick up because it makes it easier for somebody to receive. You know what I'm saying? Like on that aspect, if you just yell at somebody and be like, hey, you're doing horrible, you're not getting it right, that's all they're going home with in that mindset. But when it's discussed like, hey, these are some areas that I think you're weak in, we need to revisit and we need to find a way that we can help you perform better. Now it's a difference because now you're telling that person you believe in them. See what I did there? So when it comes to podiatry, I think a lot, the Sam was good. I was actually there. I stopped by for a few hours on Friday. But I think if we did a little bit more of smaller or even more podiatry conferences, just offering mentorships or mentorships club, just opening that up for those who do want to, because at the same time, you do want to find somebody who also wants to mentor, because that's a huge role. That's being a leader, honestly, is being able to say, hey, I'm giving back and I am going to mentor you so I can help you navigate so you probably won't endure some of the hardships I may have to do. So to answer your question, I think if we can develop like a podiatry mentorship platform where people can go and sign up and they can see profiles, kind of like a dating app, and see if this person's for me. Because don't laugh. At Jacksonville Naval Hospital, that's actually what they did when we first checked on. I was like, oh, this is so cool. I've never seen this before. They had a book when it's called NDoc. So you go, you sit down, and they have a catalog. You can look at the person picture, you see their bibliography, and see if you want to sign up for a mentor. And I think that would be very advantageous if we can shift towards offering that opportunity for ours.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is brilliant. It's so funny, Brittany, when we do these interviews and we're talking about leaders in the profession and we're talking about very accomplished surgeons, residency directors, and you name it, the common theme for all of them is they've had incredible mentorship to help them get to that position. And to make that more, I guess, readily available might be the term, would only benefit the profession and our patients as a whole, really. So, very
I
cool.
agree.
Joe, you want to do a little rapid fire?
Yes.
Let's do rapid fire. Then I have one last question for Brittany.
Okay, sure. Absolutely.
Okay. You can go first, Joe. All
right, Brittany. One of my favorites. What kind of music are you listening to, either in the OR or in the office when you got something you got to get done?
That is a very good question. We have this jazz channel that comes on and it's just a radio station and the patients love it. It's like this elevator music and they just like, oh, this is a good jazz. And I'm like, because without the words, but just like the instrumentals, you never know how great it is. And so they enjoy it. I'm here for it.
So Brittany, Friday night, long week, you're going out for dinner. What kind of food are you going after? I
love a good seafood boil. We're here in Jacksonville. We have the Newport. I love the headless shrimp, the potatoes, the sausage, the snow crab legs. Give me the boom sauce. Make it extra spicy.
I like that. I'm in. I'm going to come to Jacksonville and have to go out for Friday night dinner.
I know a good few places for you.
Okay.
All right. What about books? Are there any books that you have in your history that were really influential in your life?
You know what? Absolutely. It's crazy. So recently I just got the opportunity to start teaching a women's group at my church. And so I have like this, I wish I would have known, I have like this historical biblical book where it breaks down all of like the locations, the places. Because my goal was to read the Bible in 1 year. Because I was like, I really want to get this right. And I was like, I always start and I always fall off. So I was able to complete it last year, but what made it fun is I actually had this biblical historical book at the same time. So it was like I was able to put the locations, the people, the name, the place, everything. So that's really was my goal last week as far as it go with like or last year with the book that I was on. But currently I'm writing a book, so I'll keep you guys posted.
All right.
I like that. So Brittany, what do you do to unwind after a stressful week? We talked about going out for dinner and stuff, but do you have hobbies or habits that help you recharge your battery?
First one I will say is the gym. I usually go to the gym from 12 to 1. That's like my, I don't know how to put this, but I feel like going to the gym, it does something for the mental health because it's like, man, I did this. Like I came in here and it was like, I did not want to do 50 burpees, but I just did 50 burpees. So it just pushes you because sometimes, you get caught up in like the mental block. I can't do this. I'm not in the mood. But once you get to the gym and you start doing it, it changes your whole perspective. So that's one. Personally, I love going bowling. That's another one. I take the kids and we'll usually try to do that twice out of the month. And then third, I have a massage envy program plan. So I at least try to get my massage in once a month just to, and mentoring. I do like mentoring. And so, like I said, I just got the opportunity to start a women's group on Sundays, and just speaking and just having the time to fellowship is always amazing. I love encouraging people.
Joe, any last? Oh, I did have one more question, if that's okay.
I will sit here and just talk to her all day, especially.
I know, I will too. So Brittany,
so we'll just have to meet up the next time you come to Sam.
Yeah, I wish I would have known he was being at Sam's. I would have been like, Joe, but yes.
Well, now we know each other, so it'll be fun to do it in real life.
Absolutely.
One last question for you, Brittany. What's in store for your future? Short term, 5 years, long term, 10 or 15?
So what is in store for my future?
And I'm talking business wise, clinic wise, leadership wise.
She's writing a book.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that published. So military aspect, I will be up for promotion next year. So I'm praying that I get selected first go around. That's one. Two, I'm not sure. I don't think we just covered this, but I do have my own clinic. I give back 3 times out of the month of just podiatry health clinic and seeing patients just to keep up the podiatry skills since now I'm doing more administrative. So just continue healing people is always amazing. It's a pleasure. And I think I got 8 more years to retirement. So that's it.
Then you can shuffle the deck a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe go to the VA. I don't know. Let's see what's out there.
Oh, good for you. Well, Brittany, we are so grateful that you had time to meet with us on Dean's Chat today. I know there's going to be a lot of students, a lot of residents, a lot of people very interested in this episode. So thank you for sharing your insights and your experiences and all the different kind of tentacles to the job, right? All these different roles you've taken. I mean, heading the optometry clinic, you said, is things like that. I mean, who'd guess? Who'd ever imagine that, right?
Right.
All right. To all of our listeners out there, thank you for listening on Apple and Spotify. Leave a comment or two. If you're listening or watching on YouTube, please become a subscriber. Joe and I will continue to bring leaders in the podiatric profession. Brittany, you've opened up a whole new aspect of this for us. And it's interesting that some of our previous guests also have had similar experiences, but we really didn't dive that deep into the military experience. So thank you for doing that. We're going to send you a Dean's Chat mug. I don't know if you have. Oh, good, Joe. Joe's got hers. We will send that to you to get your morning started off right.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to you both. I appreciate the opportunity. And I just also want to open up to any of the listeners. If you need a mentor, or if you just need somebody to talk to get more information about the military, always feel free. My email address I will put out. It's britlove, BRITLOVE 7@gmail.com. Feel free. I'm always here, and I appreciate this opportunity.
It's fantastic. All right. Well, have a wonderful week, everyone. And I look forward to catching up again, Brittany. And thanks, Joe. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.